So I've got the pieces all primed now. And there are a few areas. I got a little bit of a paint bubble there. Right through here, find my pointer. On this part of the curl, I don't know if you probably won't be able to see it on the camera because it's not enough contrast, but I can see pretty easily there's a seam line there, and we got a similar one on this edge of the hair here, and a little bit there, and just a little bit up under here on this swimsuit. Everything else looks pretty good. There are very, very fine ones like on these leg parts that I'm not going to worry about. A little bit of something there I might take care of, but for the most part, looks like I did a pretty decent job of getting the seams. But the funny thing is just how much you can feel like you got everything, and then once you prime it, you find out, nope, you missed something. So I'm going to go ahead and set these few pieces aside that need a little bit extra work and start working on them. I'll put the other pieces that I'm not worried about out of the way. Everything turned out pretty well, and I was a little worried because of the temperature outside being a little colder. And then, as I mentioned, I did I did laser cut a base to go under this, and I have just a little bit of a scribed line to help center this, and I think that'll work pretty nicely. So I'm pretty pleased with that. So I'm going to start some sanding. Okay, so we've got everything varnished with a coat of clear coat. The weird thing is, I don't think you'll be able to see this on camera. We'll see if you can, but there's like a pebble texture on here, which is really weird. And part of me is tempted to see about sanding it down, but it actually gives it kind of a neat texture. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I've got some blue rattle can spray paint that's got some sparkle in it, and so the part that's blue is the part around this rabbit ear bandana thing. So I'm going to try and mask off everything else and then hit that with a blue coat and see how it looks. So I will grab my tape. And for this function, I'm going to swap out my X-Acto blade because this one is old and well used. So you can buy these in bulk for relatively inexpensive, which for a miser like me is a-okay. There's that. I also have one of these plastic razor scraper blades. Use that to help push in the tape. I can also use the end of a toothpick. edge does not have to be neat, it just has to cover. Okay. Make sure we got some overlap. We get around the edges because I don't think I'm going to have overspray, but I would prefer just not to have to even worry about it. I got just a little bit right there. It's not covered. This is really just belt and suspenders, just making sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay. So now what I can do, push this in just a little bit. Actually, I don't think I'm even going to need this because this tape is quite transparent. So, kind of riding that groove. Here, blue part is kind of raised up. And I'm assuming it's a consistent distance from the edge of this to that part where I'm cutting. Oop, that went off track a little bit. So I'm kind of just dragging my finger as a guide around there. Okay, so let's see if I pull on this. Will it come off cleanly? Okay. It's not terribly bad. Grab this again and just push stuff down into that slot. This isn't a normal feature of most situations where you're doing this, but thoughts here I will take advantage of it. Okay, I think that's pretty decent, so I'll slap this back on here. I think I may do just fill up this hole a little bit so I'm not getting that entire hole filled with paint, so I have a good mating surface when I come to gluing it. Okay. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so here it is. So I'm going to remove the tape while it's still, I don't know, I'm of the school of removing tape while the paint is still not completely dry. I just think it's better if it hasn't had a chance to form a skin, because sometimes that skin can be hard to break. Fortunately, I have a lip to work with here. Looks like we got a little bit of overspray under the tape, which is not great. Tape is sticking to everything but what I want it to. Oh, come on. Okay. All right. So this is what we ended up with. So I'm going to take, I believe, hold on a second. So this is the paint I used. Yeah, it's a little bit sparkly. Try to see. Does it say if this is? So I can use mineral spirits or paint thinner. So I do have some mineral spirits. Yes. Okay. So there's the mineral spirits. Get a clean. No, that one's been used. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So I'm just gonna get a Q-tip, remove some of the excess so I can control it better, and see if I can just scoop this up. It's working to some extent. My concern with this is that it's going to remove that texture, but I'm really planning to hit this whole thing with the gloss again, so as a protective coat, so I'm not too worried about that. Fortunately, to get into this edge, it's removing some of this on the lip of that edge. this texture is making it not as easy as it probably could be. But being able to remove stuff is a nice trick. Especially if your coat of paint under does not react with whatever it is that you're using to pick it up. Oh, that's coming off pretty good with just a toothpick there. One of my favorite tricks from watching some of the Japanese modelers is to use enamel paint on top of like acrylic or something, because the acrylic paint tends not to respond to the enamel thinner, so you don't end up inadvertently removing what you've already put on there. That's pretty close, I think. And let's see, I wonder if I've got my blue Gundam marker. It might be a little dark. What about this lighter? Okay. Oh. Hello. Okay. Try to keep that from spilling everywhere. See if I can very carefully, just right on this edge, as long as it's kind of consistent, I don't care too much if it hits the bottom of that lip a little bit. I think that cleans it up a bit. And this is going to be the front, so I'm not as concerned about stuff on this edge showing up. But that picks up pretty well just with the toothpick here, so that's nice. think that was kind of a wash with that pen. I'll continue to work on this off camera.